So I have a question to ask of you, and that is, if you could just turn toward yourself for a moment, even closing your eyes, and just think back to when you entered into this sanctuary today. Just think back to what that felt like for you. And if you're watching online, think back to a time perhaps when you came into this community, or if you're listening to the recording later. What did you feel? What got evoked for you? I know one of the things that I feel when I come into this community, into this space, is joy. How many of you feel joy when you're in this community? Just raise your hand. I'd love to see. Am I alone in this? Yeah, definitely not. Okay, good. Yay, isn't that wonderful? And that is what I'm here to talk to you about today, about joy. And I've been marinating in joy for the past month or so. And I think partly it's because of this season that we're in right now, all of the celebrations that are happening, the holidays, as Vicki so beautifully shared, the return of the light. All of this happening. And also, our foundations class just culminated last Thursday. And our principle that we were focusing on was joy. So this was another reason I've been thinking about it a lot. And can I just say, woo, the foundations participants, 40 people graduated from that class. And that was no small thing. And so I just want to take a moment, and if you were in that class, would you please stand? I want to celebrate you. Yes, look at that. We were together for 3 months, and they worked really hard, and they brought me a lot of joy. Their final projects were absolutely stunning, you guys. Oh my God, I wish you could have seen it. So joy is what I've been thinking on. And let me just say that one of our principals here, Dr. Ernest Holmes, our founder, said about joy and about the kingdom of heaven. He said, the kingdom of heaven is within us, and we experience this kingdom to the degree to which we become conscious of it. The kingdom of heaven is right here in us. It is a deep well of joy, among other things. Joy is a spiritual quality. It roots all the way down. And I've had an interesting journey with joy. So I'll share that with you. So when I came into the world, my entire family says, I was the happiest, most perfect baby for the first 2 years of my life. Yeah, everything changes at 2. But everyone says I was just always joyful. And I was always leaning in, wanting to, it looked apparently to everybody else that I was always trying to give everyone a kiss. So my mother would pass me off easily. I just loved everybody. And was happy. I even slept through the night, and I would even want to put myself to bed. So, yeah, first 2 years, yay, happy baby. And beyond that, I shared about a year ago here that my family moved around a lot. And I was perpetually the new kid in school, and it was always really hard for me. And not only that, I experienced abuse, I experienced assault, I experienced being bullied at school. And from the age of 12, what happened was I just spun out into a dark, deep depression. It was really dark. And from the age of 12 to 19, all I wanted to do was die. I thought that I was trapped. I thought that living this human experience was just so painful. I couldn't see beyond the pain. And I had 4 suicide attempts between 12 and 19. That's how bad it was at that time. Now, I want to tell you that today, I feel like joy's bursting out of my pores. Like, it's crazy the amount of joy I feel now. But back then, it wasn't the case. And when I was 20 years old, and I got to that place again, considering ending my life, because I just thought I want to be with God. I thought that's going to be where the love is. And as I was thinking about it, this voice that I had come to know and to trust as a voice that was on my side said, outside of my right ear, it said, "If you succeed, you will never know the joy on the other side of this. If you succeed, you will never know the joy on the other side of this." And what that statement did for me was it opened a possibility that I hadn't considered. I went from this with myself to, you mean I could experience joy? And so I got really curious about that. I thought a lot about joy. I thought a lot about it. Some of you know that a few weeks ago, I was very excited to go to Connecticut and visit my family for the U.S. Thanksgiving. My daughters were going to be there, my mom, my sister and her family. I was so looking forward to this. And when I got there, all was okay. And then Tuesday, when I went to pick up my daughters from the airport, I started not feeling very well. And by the next morning, Wednesday morning, one day before the U.S. Thanksgiving, I woke up and man, I had the worst sore throat, and my fever was 103, which I think is like 39.5 or so here is Celsius. And so I was like, oh, are you kidding me? Oh no. So my visit turned into me quarantining in the basement. And I had a nice couch, lots of blankets. They took really good care of me. And on Thursday, when it was Thanksgiving, the basement and where I was lying was right under the kitchen. And everybody's avoiding me. Wisely so, right? They're just like peeking in once in a while. But what I could hear was all the laughter, the dishes, and the dining room was right there as well, so I could hear all of the happenings. And I just started to cry because I just went into this place of missing what I was missing out on, and the disappointment of that. And then I stepped back. After I let myself move through that emotion, I stepped back and I could see the beauty. I could see the beauty of this family that has only come back together in the last few years and is now celebrating Thanksgiving together. I could see that larger perspective. I could see the beauty of my daughters contributing a dish. They were each making a dish there. Hearing my niece, nephews, and my daughters laughing together was beautiful. And it completely shifted me. And I expanded even further from there to, gosh, there's a lot of people who are sick right now. This time of year, especially. I thought about Trish, our beautiful practitioner here. I thought about all the people who are going through this right now, and my heart just broke open with compassion and feeling that we're all in this together. We're moving through this together. And I could feel being a part of the earth, being a part of this great ecosystem, which includes viruses. And I thought, this virus isn't my enemy. This virus is just trying to survive too. Okay, that's true. And so I was just with that. We're all in this together, which unleashed joy. As I was looking at joy, it was almost like opening a Pandora's box. And I was like, what is it that supports us in our joy? And I was pulling out this and then pulling out that. And it really was like a clown car. Like more clowns kept coming out. And I'm like, how are we going to do this in one talk? So I'm not going to try to do it all in one talk. I'll do a few talks on joy. The one I wanted to focus on today, the peace where our power is. And I think it's a beginning piece for us when it comes to cultivating joy in our lives, is perspective. How we see, the meaning we make from what we see is then what we experience, the feelings that come out of that. Perspective. So I saw this one thing about joy. I said in the beginning, it roots all the way down. I saw this great visual. And at the top, this was in the foundations class actually, it said absolute joy, and it was like in the spiritual realm, absolute joy. Now, of course, we know the spiritual is absolutely everything. But it had at the top absolute joy, and then a line coming down, moving into form, into our earthly existence. When it got here, it split apart. And over here, it said absolute joy. And over here, it said absence of joy. Absolute joy, absence of joy. Now, on this, there was a scale of things that we experience in our human experience, not the same as being a spiritual being, but in our human experience, we experience despair in this absence of joy place. Sadness, discontent, loss, grief, sorrow. And it moves on up, happiness, bliss, absolute joy. And so, what is important about this? Khalil Gibran says, joy is your sorrow unmasked. Joy is your sorrow unmasked. And in his book, The Prophet, when he wrote about joy, he didn't just call it joy, he called it joy and sorrow together. They are together. And so I'm going to backtrack a little bit because in our teaching we hear this, right? Change your thinking, change your life. Truth. This is what I'm talking about right now, right? Changing your perspective. But we can get a little tripped up in that and think that, I just changed my thought and I'm going to feel good. Like that. Presto. Not so. Sometimes we can experience a spontaneous joy. But mostly, joy gets cultivated over time. Joy, absence of joy, it's like light and dark or darkness, right? We know that darkness is not a thing. You just flip on a light switch. There's no darkness. But we experience it as something real, as human beings. But it's not. So joy, absolute joy, and absence of joy. The switch, if there is one, I think is in this perspective shift, if there is a switch. But I don't want you to think that just right away you should be able to switch your perspective and then, ta-da, I'm happy. Don't do that, because you might go into shaming yourself if you're not really happy. And you might just end up like, Stepford Wives. I'm happy. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Right? No. We're not going there. Okay. Are you with me? Okay, good. This is not about pretending or faking it. So I want you to be really gentle with yourself. I have to remind myself to be gentle with myself in this too. It takes time. It takes spiritual practice. Our mission here, we hear our purpose every day, which is so awesome, which is what? Awakening. Yes! What's our mission? Different. To teach spiritual practices that create joy-filled lives. Woo! Is that a mission you could get behind? Yes. Okay, so that's another reason I'm here talking about joy. All right. One of my heroes is a man named Maury. And you may have read the book, Tuesdays with Maury, or maybe you saw the movie that was created about Maury's life and his final weeks of his life. What this story is about is Maury was a sociology professor, and a really good one from all accounts. And one of his students, Mitch Albom, loved him so much. Maury had been diagnosed with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. And Mitch wanted to be there. He visited him every Tuesday, hence the name. And he would journal about his visits with Maury. And he was astonished at Maury because Maury was always in such joy. He was always inspired and inspiring. And Mitch was just perplexed by this because his bodily functions were going away. And yet his consciousness was fully there and present. What he didn't notice was that there's a team of people there with Maury. A team working with Maury. And Maury spoke to that, and I'll get back to that in just a moment. But Maury gives us a mental equivalent of what is possible. So for any of us, I'm included in this, for any of us who think, I have to be in perfect health to be happy. No, you don't. You actually don't. Maury shows that to us. He's such a great example of it, of what is possible. And I want to speak to you about someone very special here in our community who also inspires me. And that is our very own Al Picard. And if you don't know Al or his story, Al was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease about 5 years ago. And how I experience Al in this community, and whenever I see him, because he shows up a lot in this community, there's always a smile in his eyes. There's always kindness in his greetings. I experience Al as such a joyful human being, beautiful human being. And Vicki, who's our practitioner today, his wife, amazing woman, is right there with him on the journey. And I spoke to both of them about their situation with what Al's going through. And one of the things they shared with me was that they had just been to the doctor and had a very difficult visit. And they left the doctor's office and Al said, "Wow, how are we going to navigate this?" He didn't say, "Wow, how am I going to navigate this?" He said, "Wow, how are we going to navigate this?" And that struck me. And so I asked him a little bit more about that, and he was saying that Vicky and her partnership and her love and care and support, as well as his friends, his communities, his family, including this community, buoy him up, letting him know he's not alone. I want to celebrate you too for the model you are and what's possible. And so can we just send them some love and thank you. You two are amazing. They told me that after that question of how are we going to navigate this, that they went out. They went out and had fun. Isn't that awesome? That's what's possible. Perspective. When we are so caught up in ourselves, our self-concerns, we are seeing from a very myopic place. If we widen the lens and step back, shifting our perspective, we open up to a larger perspective, larger meaning, especially that one knowing we aren't alone. Because when we're here, we often feel so alone. Step back because you're not. And everyone here, you're in this community. You get to experience that right here and hopefully remember it when you leave. Auschwitz survivor Edith Eva Eger talks about visiting two soldiers on the same day. She went to the medical center in Fort Bliss, where both soldiers had lost the use of their legs in combat. They had the same diagnosis, they had the same prognosis. The first soldier that she visited was curled up in his bed in a fetal position, tight, and he was railing against life, convinced that his life was over, and so angry. The second soldier that she went to visit was outside in his wheelchair in the gardens. He was being wheeled outside, and what he said was, as he is wheeled up to one of the flowers, is that he felt he had a second chance at life. That at the level he is right now, he's right with the flowers, and he could feel that. And he's right on the level with his children. So when they're talking with him, they're right there. Two soldiers, same medical center, same diagnosis, same prognosis, totally different perspectives. Guess which one leads to joy? We have the power to cultivate our joy. It is within us to do this. If I can do it, anybody can. Right? I mean, that's one of the gifts that time of my life gave me, is that I can stand here before you and say, absolutely, you can create a joy-filled life with spiritual practices. One of them being shifting your perspective. How am I seeing this right now? Is there a larger, wider perspective that I can look at? The French priest Pierre Teilhard de Chardin tells us that remembering the joy you feel in this community, that joy is the infallible sign of the presence of God. It's really good you show up here. And if you've ever heard of the overview effect, many astronauts that have gone into space, when they see the Earth, this blue marble in the cosmos, they are forever changed. They say something happened there. There are no nations, human devised borders, and they just see this precious Earth of which we're all a part, the precious cosmos of which the Earth is a part. So I want to leave you with a little joy hack to support you over this next week or whenever you need it. That when you're feeling that aloneness or isolation, sadness, experiencing darkness, whatever it is, you're feeling it. If your head is down, which it normally is in this place, right? We're more like this. Then we are in the energy of the problem. We're in the soup of it. If you raise your head level, then you're in the human realm of thinking about the problem. If you raise your gaze just 45 degrees, you are now in the realm of spirit and possibilities, limitless possibilities. We all have limitless possibilities. And you absolutely have the possibility for an immense, joy-filled life. Thank you all so very much. I love you. Thank you.